In today's society, we have people who want to resort in turn to calling people bootlick, calling people bootlickers because of the fact that they don't understand nuance, or because of the fact that rather than saying, oh, well, nobody should have this path to being able to gain financial independence and go from being lower class, working class, up to like upper middle to rich class, depending on how you do it. And when you make these points, people decide you're a bootlicker, which is the most absurd shit of all time. If you were being a bootlicker, you would be saying, ah, yes, billionaires should be billionaires, and corporations are fantastic, and the billionaires being billionaires isn't simply enough to be a bootlicker. It would be somebody saying, yeah, you deserve crumbs, while they deserve massive amounts of just opulence in comparison. And the fact of the matter is, when people are union striking, they demand everybody agree with the union, regardless of what's going on. How many people know what these unions that are all protesting are protesting for or about, and the arguments that they're trying to negotiate for? Do you know what they're negotiating for as a solution? Do you have any idea what led to what they're doing now? Because the fact of the matter is, they like to sit back and claim that these corporations, billionaires, are stealing money from people, when the fact is they just failed to negotiate a rate of putting in raises that keeps up with the cost of living. And what these unions have done is negotiated things like a 10-cent or a 50-cent annual raise, maybe $1 if you're at a place that's really just extravagantly negotiating. But they might, typically what they do is they negotiate for you to have more pay up front, and your raises don't change. They know that the cost of living is going to constantly increase. They know that there's nothing that can be done about that. They know that these businesses are also going to have to charge more money for their goods because of the inflation that goes on through the government printing massive amounts of money. It makes the cost of everything go up because your money's value depletes as there's more of it in circulation. So you need more of that money to afford the same things you used to. Like, that's basic economics. And the fact is, if these unions were being effective, they would negotiate for raises in relation to inflation. They would negotiate for raises in relation to the increased cost of the products being sold or the services being rendered, depending on what the type of business is. But they don't do that. These unions that are just a standing, constantly existent thing are not helping you with this at all. They're literally arguing for just enough for the worker to keep on working. They are not fixing the problem, and that's what the issue is. They've become their own business that give union workers, really, the people who work for the union, it gives them a second paycheck. So it's not in their best interest to vote on or even submit the suggestion to try and negotiate for a true solution, and instead benefits from something that's going to result in having to make another negotiation in the future. They're not going to find a true solution, because if they do, your union would disband and not be in existence until there was another issue that required you to come together. It's literally just become a form of negotiation that removed your ability to negotiate at all. You should be capable of negotiating your own terms, your own benefits, your own wages, and when things are being completely unnegotiable with the company and people are all hurting all the way around, you come together and negotiate again. You should only be negotiating starting points as well. You shouldn't be negotiating things that are supposed to be long-term, forever things. But things that are like, here's where we think everybody should start out as their wages. Here's how I think bonuses should be decided. things like that to make that type of shit fair. But like base level, like benefits, that makes sense. But if you work somewhere that offers daycare and you have children, you probably want that daycare benefit. But then Jim, couple rows over, would benefit more from having no child care benefit because he doesn't have children and he's got a vasectomy. So he's not even planning to ever have kids. This is something that he's not going to ever receive the benefit of. But you know what he would like to do? Have a good retirement. So he would like to negotiate taking the same amount of money. It's roughly $2,000 on average per month for one child for 5 days of daycare. So 5 days of daycare per week, to be clear. So if you're working full time, it's going to cost you about $2,000 on average for childcare. And the thing is, you could see this, understand that that's $2,000 worth of a benefit, and negotiate like, hey, I'd like another however much money an hour, and the amount of money that I put into my 401k or my IRA investment, whatever the retirement plan is for your company, maybe it's stock options that you would rather do instead of just a 401k or whatever, and you negotiate for something, say, increasing what they do for that. Like, hey, for everything I put into my 401k or my IRA that you give me, you guys match my investment instead of 50% by 75% or 100%, you equally match what I'm putting into that retirement fund. Or maybe it's just stock options and you're like, hey, you guys are giving out say 12 stocks in the company every year, like basically a stock a month, right? But you only get it after every year. So they just give you one lump, 12 a year. And you go, I just think I would rather have like 1.5 a month. So instead of 12 a year, you get 18 stocks in that company every year as a stock option. So like the thing is, different benefits benefit people differently. You should have a base level. This is what everybody should at least be offered to start with, but be able to negotiate it on your own. These unions don't allow you to do that. This is something that would be delegated to an HR department. HR is who you used to negotiate with for your wages. But now you basically get a couple of options for how much you get paid when you come in on your first day, and that's it. Somebody who's in charge of a company that oversees things that are not just in your town, but your entire state, or not even just across your state, but the whole region, not just the region, but the whole country, maybe not the country, but multiple continents. They're probably also investing across not just the market and the industry you're part of, but multiple other industries and markets that you're not even contributing to the overall income from. So you're given this lie that you have a right to the billions of dollars the company you work in has, so that you don't think that you could possibly sit at the table and negotiate with this CEO yourself, rather than just being given the reality of the situation, which would be you shouldn't be negotiating with somebody who's at like that highest level unless you are operating in a way that is at that level for your pay. They don't know you. They don't care about you because you're just a number in their paperwork. You're not going to get anywhere unless you work with them or under them directly. If you were negotiating with your general manager or your HR department closer to your level, they would actually know you. Their job would still be to negotiate more in the benefit of the company, but they still need to give you shit, or else you just don't work there. Not to mention the fact that these people who go on this tangent of, oh, you're bootlickers, blah, blah, blah. These people have failed over and over again to understand that when somebody's saying, like, you just stop doing business with these corporations. Stop it. Do business with the small companies that are in direct competition with them. Start your own business out of the hobby you enjoy. These people act like it's impossible to just create a business and do something. Now, it's not for everybody. Not everybody's an entrepreneur. However, the thing is, if you are not willing to figure out how you could make your own money and how you could make your own wealth and move from one class to another, and you're happy just accepting what you get to remain where you are and just being the good little worker bee who helps produce the money that goes all the way up, that is the mindset of a peasant, of somebody who's only ever going to be a worker and never be wealthy. You're never going to own anything. You're never going to have the things you want. You're just going to settle as the lowest possible thing that they can give you with you still being willing to work. If you're doing that, you are accepting crumbs. That is a peasant mindset. And when somebody points this out and says, like, you could do better, that's them believing in you more than you currently do. So when you see somebody calling other people a bootlicker, look at what that person is actually saying who's being called a bootlicker and see what's going on. You need to remove any kind of emotional attachment you have to the discussion to do this effectively. It's not very hard to do. Look at what they're saying and just simply take it for what it is. Oftentimes, the people who are making these comments are trying to give you the advice on how to break out of that ecosystem of an abusive-ass relationship and help create, foster, and build back the system that was not nearly as abusive. When there were plenty of businesses and most of the business was done by small companies, and for the most part the large companies were just distributors, there was a much smaller gap between how much money was made at the bottom level versus the top level. It was like a third of what it is now. And not only that, but you work with your boss all the time. They don't want to see you fail. It doesn't help their business if you're not able to get by. They might not be able to offer you exactly what you think is fair. They can sit down with you and go, look, man, this is the situation. If we were making more money, if we were doing this or that, then I'd be able to pay you more. And you could go to him with ideas or her with ideas on marketing strategies, on things that you could do differently that would benefit the company better. And they'd probably help compensate you for for helping the business grow. So stop living in the ecosystem of supporting, giving these people your labor, your time. Like, if you have to give them your labor, then you have to give them your labor. But you can work there for a while to build up what you need to do better. There's nothing wrong with that. You can minimize the amount of interaction money that they get from you. You don't have to do all your business at corporations. There's a lot of business you can do at small businesses and help break away from this ecosystem. It's not something that's ever going to happen overnight. Getting to this situation is not something that happened overnight. But the process of doing better is going to be a process of removing ourselves from this ridiculous ecosystem that depends upon people being happy as peasants and accepting the crumbs, as just as few crumbs as they can possibly be given, to remain in the factories, to keep going to work and doing what they're told to do for measly mouse crumbs. Like, let's just be better. Instead of going, I plan this far away from myself, I can't figure out better than where I am right now. Let's actually look out to the horizon and try to do better. Literally everybody does better that way. Like, Be the difference you want to see. Create the business that has the model you think would work best. It doesn't have to be something big and extravagant. It can literally just be a hobby. Maybe you like collecting things and you turn that into a hobby where you build a YouTube channel or a Twitch channel or a social media on TikTok or whatever platform you enjoy, where you share that with people and you're able to just start trading your collectibles and selling them and getting more collectibles and things that are going to become valuable collectibles and help distribute them to people who also share your interest, and slowly build like a card shop, like a collectible cards shop or a toy shop. You could start out of your garage and become an absolute behemoth of a company. And if you think that I'm wrong, was I'm terrible at names, but Amazon started out as a business run out of the garage by those two people, right? I just want to say Bill Gates, but that's Microsoft. And like I'm just stuck there now in my mind mentally. But the fact is, Amazon started out as a company in their garage. The two of them were the only ones who worked there. They were the only ones doing anything, and all they did was help distribute books, physical books, to people that were interested in them. You could order these books off of Amazon. They would get a shipment of books, and they would ship those books to you that you desired. It was great. There you go, Jeff Bezos. Thank you. I was so stuck on the wrong name. God dang. I don't know why I couldn't get Bill Gates out of my head. It's probably because his face haunts me when I think of it. But yeah, absolutely. Jeff Bezos and his wife, they started that company in their garage, and look at it now. It's one of the highest grossing companies in the world. Like, you can start your own business from something you enjoy. Do it out of your garage or an extra room in your house or whatever it is, and you can build it into a behemoth if you try and you work hard enough at it. Just be the difference you want to see. If you think that you work at a company where they treat people like shit instead of being abused constantly, use your free time to try and build something better. I would love to see more people trying to do better than where they're stuck, rather than just accepting the crumbs that they're given as if it's going to lead you to success and happiness and wealth. It never will.